Boy, we've been waiting a long time for something like this to happen. So, Chainlink has been pumping the last few days, and the last time I took a look at it in a video, I believe was right down here. It was when we deviated this range to the downside. We did actually close a weekly candle down below that low, down below the low end of the range. And this was the last time I made a video. I was looking at supports that we had below us. At the time, we were seeing some bullish divergences in momentum and money flow more locally, and with momentum from that one really deep wave that we put in as we entered this range. So we did see bullish divergences as we deviated the low of the range, and this also did something else important. It created a weekly market structure point that was within this range that we were trading. So let me just go ahead and mark out weekly structure. Starting from the high, we clearly have a downtrend. We'll mark out more of a swing-like structure. So we did put in a lower low there, lower high, and as we entered this range, the structure essentially looked like this. For a long time, about a year, as we were trading in this range, I was looking at this as being the weekly lower high. So the fact that we eventually did come down to deviate the low end of the structure means that we can continue this a little bit. So we have a lower low here, and now this, the highest point after putting in this low, is now the lower high on the weekly. And I would call that a sufficient move for a weekly swing and structure. It's not a large percent move, it's just from the bottom of the range to the top of that range. And I mean, I guess it is 77%, so maybe it is good enough in terms of a percentage move, but also, in terms of candles, we're on the weekly, and this was many weeks of a move to the upside. So I'm comfortable calling this the weekly lower high. And what has happened recently is we have closed now a weekly candle above that point. So we have broken weekly structure bullishly, which is a pretty significant development. So I want to take a look at market cipher, see if maybe we can get a continued move to the upside from this weekly break. I want to look at some of the supports that we have inside of this range for if we get a retracement before continuing higher. And I want to take a look at some of the resistance that we have above us. So first off, on the weekly time frame, let's start off with the market cipher. So we did get bullish divergences on this low. I think that strengthens the idea of this being, a significant weekly market structure break. If we can continue to get follow through, it would be a breakout of this range that we've been trading in for a year and a half. And, right now, after the bullish divergence that we got on the, range deviation of the low, we've seen some pretty good development on market cipher. Momentum came up above the zero line after that divergence. We came back down to get a little trigger wave, and that entire time money flow was continuing to increase. And this is pretty good development of weekly market cipher. It's pretty much what you want to see. You have the divergence first with momentum and money flow here. Then you have a trigger wave with money flow continuing to increase, showing continuation. And now, if I zoom in again, the weekly momentum wave is continuing to put in higher highs compared to this one. The money flow is now putting in higher highs. It is officially in the green now. Things are looking good on the weekly, I have to say. And I can take a look at one more thing. I usually don't keep the RSI on. I mainly like to look at the RSI for higher time frames, and I just think it makes market cipher look ugly, so I keep it off most of the time, but I'll turn it back on. And let's take a look at the weekly RSI. So from what I remember about the RSIs, you typically want to look at the RSIs getting very close together, and that is typically a sign of reversal, at least at some point. So, the fact that the RSI lines right now are still very spread out and both moving to the upside shows that, it doesn't look like it's really ready to top out here. Typically you look for the RSI to kind of tighten up before you get that large move to the downside, and then eventually they will start turning down and spreading apart. That's usually what you look for with RSIs. So yeah, weekly RSI not really looking toppish either. And now taking a look at the daily time frame, market cipher definitely looks different here. So yeah, this is what I kind of mean with the RSIs, how it looks like it's basically one line right now. They're very tight together. It even turned red, which I guess is supposed to be a bearish sign. So on the daily, it looks like, price action may be topping out a little bit. We also possibly have a bearish divergence forming here. It's not confirmed yet. But the money flow does not look super bearish. It's continuing to grow here. Looks like it wants to put in a higher high compared to this wave. But we do potentially have a bearish div forming here. Although the fact that this white line is still so wide, right, it doesn't look like it's clipping off quite yet, makes me think that this wave will probably continue up and get above this wave over here, or at least, get, close enough to where maybe it's like a double top. It's not necessarily a divergence. And the fact that money flow is not diverging is not a super bearish thing. So even if we get a slight momentum div here, if the money flow continues to increase, it wouldn't look super bearish. So ultimately, I think things look pretty bullish here. The daily doesn't look bad. The weekly looks really good, I have to say, especially with the money flow just now crossing into the green, momentum putting in higher highs, this nice looking trigger wave after the divs. I think it looks really good. So now let's start off with looking at support in this range for if we do get a retracement, maybe there can be some juicy levels in here that may make for some nice long trades. So first thing I would be looking at is areas of demand. So, we have broken market structure, a retest into demand before continuation would make sense. And I'm seeing, two areas of demand here really. We have this larger one, which I'd say goes down to here. It was the last large retracement before breaking structure. And I think we have a refined area right here with this retracement. So those are zones of interest. I like the refined area better, but if we come below it, you have to consider that this whole area is demand, so we could come lower than it. But let's take a look at the volume profile now, because if the value area high is lining up with this refined area, then I think I'd prefer to hold that rather than breaking back into the larger volume range. So let's take a look at this, and look at that. The value area high and the point of control line up in this refined area. So I think it would look a lot better if we did get a retracement here, that we don't really fall back inside this range. Maybe we get like a little wick below it, maybe wick down to the point of control, but don't stay in there for long. Because if we, break back into this value area, what are the chances that we don't rotate all the way back down to the low end of it again? That has kind of been the pattern inside this range, is going to move up to the high end, then rotate back down to the low end. Could this just be a really far deviation and, maybe we do eventually rotate back down to the low end of the range, which would still maintain this weekly structure. We still could do that and then continue with bullishness later. That is possible. So I would really be looking at the volume levels inside this larger range. And, if we hold the value area high, maybe that's a sign that we're going higher. If we reclaim it and maybe even back test it for a resistance, okay, maybe we're coming back down to the low end of the range before continuing bullishness later. That's kind of how I'd look at it. We could also take a look at fib levels, and I'd look at least the 0.5. I think this 0.5 actually looks good. Usually, if you're looking for a solid retracement, you want to come at least down to the 0.5 before continuation. So the 0.5 lines up with the value area high. It is possible that we get a, maybe further retracement into like the golden pocket or something, which is right around the point of control. I wouldn't love that though. I think I'd rather just bounce from the value area high. So I think I'm liking this zone right now for longs, if I see something convincing here, that is. And now let's mark out the resistance that we have above us. So, the first obvious area I'm seeing is this retracement to the upside. So this is like the last major area of supply that we have remaining. It is a large retracement before we continued weekly market structure. It's essentially a weekly swing in structure, so this whole area is supply. There's probably refined areas inside of here, like you could just mark out this one weekly candle up here and call that a weekly order block. And, I may do that. I might keep that on my chart just so I have kind of a refined area. I also like how that area lines up with the value area low of, this large area of price action. I guess you could call this a range. It's a very funky looking range, but, at least it's the bull market volume, basically. And just for fun, we can pull this all the way over, see what, all of this volume is looking like. That's kind of what I expected, all the volume to be down here, which is kind of interesting. And the value area high is above us as well, so maybe we, find some resistance on this area. If we get past that, then I'd be looking at the value area low of this chunk of price action, and all of that is inside supply. So I'd say this right now is the major resistance that we have to get past, and if we do, then at that point, we're back inside the value area of the bull market. So we could look at resistance above us. Maybe there's order blocks up here or up here, but at that point, who is to say we aren't going to just start trading inside this larger area again? And we did just barely front run this large area of supply. So, it is just above this wick here. Maybe before we get some kind of a daily retracement, let me see, I can delete that because that's getting in the way. Maybe we get a move into this larger area of supply. So maybe we start ranging here for a little bit, come up to SFP the high once more, maybe get another move down, come back up SFP it once more, get kind of like a Y-cough going here, and maybe that leads to the retracement back down into this range. And if we see something bullish here, then maybe that will lead to a move up to this more refined area and the value area low of the bull market. So yeah, that's one possibility. I ultimately think that these are the most important areas right now, these areas that I have marked out above and below us. And I personally think, just based off of the bullishness on the weekly, and the fact that the daily doesn't look too bad right now, we're not really getting much bearishness on this move to the upside, other than maybe a slight bear div in momentum here, but that's not looking very likely, honestly. It looks like we'll probably get this momentum wave above this wave over here. So it makes me think that we could possibly tackle this area soon. I would like for us to retrace first, because that would give better trade opportunities, but I do think that at some point we probably will try to tackle this area of resistance up here, and also, just in general, this zone, which was such major support for a very long time, now potentially flipping into resistance if we test it again. Yeah, it seems like to me we probably will start to test some of that resistance. From there, we'll see if we can get above it or not, because I think if we can, that opens up the door to much higher link prices. So yeah, that pretty much does it for this video. Just wanted to give a quick update. Haven't talked about this asset in a long time, and hopefully now with this major development happening, we can get some juicier price action here. I'm sure if you were trading this range, this was a very nice range to trade. Literally just short the top and long the bottom. It seemed to work out pretty well. I wasn't trading Link much, and I'm not really sure why. I just haven't been. But, if I can find some juicy potential swing long positions, or maybe even swing short if we see something very convincing up in this resistance, then maybe I'd be interested in trading Link again. But anyways, that pretty much does it for this video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. All of that helps to support my channel, and I really appreciate everyone that does it. And I will see you all in the next video.